Here we go. All right, blessings and welcome to our Shabbat service today. So good each and every one of you can make it again. And we're going to get started with, I hope this is a learning environment. Don't mistake this environment for a passive experience. You gotta be active. You have to be actively involved in your faith. You have to be actively involved. And watch this, even if you don't believe. See, we got to create an environment where even people who don't believe can get something out of this. Yeah. And so even if you don't believe, if you're not fully persuaded, remember the disciples, when Yeshua said to the disciples, he said, are you yet without faith? You guys still don't believe? And he walked with them every single day. So even if you don't believe, you should still be listening to say, see, that's a contradiction. That's a contradiction. At least listen on that level. Listen for the contradictions in the word. Yeah, and then so you'll have a reason to reject instead of just emotionally rejecting. And you'll have evidence. That's intelligence. And so we want to have something to write with. We want to have something to write on. We want to be actively learning, not passive listeners when we come into this environment. As a matter of fact, whatever environment you go to, you should be an active participant in learning what that environment is all about. I don't care what you do, where you go, you should always be aware. Some people call it hood smart. Hood smart. You got to listen. If you don't know, you got to be actively involved in learning coming from the hood that I came from. Yeah, if you wear the wrong colors coming from my hood, you get shot. You get beat up. You get your jacket, your starter jacket, your Oklahoma starter jacket taken from you in the 8th grade. Yeah. Oh, yes. I got up like, oh, cold. It's cold on this bus. Yeah. So also don't forget to go on to Facebook and then like the video and then share it on your page if you haven't done so far. All right. Turn with me. We're back in our scripture. I know we took a break last week, but we're back in Proverbs chapter 23. You can turn with me there and we're going to take all the meat off of this bone. So grateful today, guys. As we've mentioned before, I'm thinking about a brother who was called to preach on this day. And I think, let's see, what time is it, 6:30? Right around this time, I was preaching. I remember the day, the time. I remember everything that happened. The sister that I was working at HUD at the time. And I remember meeting a sister there, and she told me she was a believer. I came to her church, and I told her I was called to preach. She was like, really? And I told her the date that I was going to preach. She said, would you like for me to sing for you? Just so willing. Didn't have to ask, didn't have to poke and prod and beg and plead. She just so willing. She came and she sung beautiful song. And the first young man, his name is Damon. I haven't heard from Damon in probably 20 years, 25 years. I've asked about him. I've tried to track him down on Facebook, IG, all of that. But we were called the triplets. We preached our first sermon on the same day. Then my brother Sam. Sam is one of a kind. I hope that you guys can meet him one day. As a matter of fact, we can make that happen. We're going to make that happen. And so, as I reflect, and I just want to say this just for a little while, I'm not going to take too much time. But as I reflect on, man, that 30 went by quick, like that. I remember being so scared to come up and stand, fumbled over my words, couldn't. So you got to understand that I was preaching in a church where the pastors from all over the United States, other countries, go to his conference to learn how to preach, to learn how to do what I do all the time. They come to him. And I got to get up and come after that. That's just like name a gospel singer that you love, that sings, not one of these Christian gospel singers, because I don't know what they're doing, most of them, but name someone that you know that you like listening to. Come on, all you music lovers out there, you worship. All right, let's go with Mahalia Jackson. Can you imagine Stinking coming up after her? Can you imagine that? Or let me just make it relevant. Peace line. You know how beautiful she sings. Can you imagine having to sing a song right after her? Come on. Come on. Coming up to all right, now we want you to come. So I was so super nervous. I remember, I'm gonna tell you this one story and I'm done. I remember the week after I preached, thought I was all bad, came in proud. I started from the beginning, I finished. Everybody stood up and clapped. I still have my tape. I should have brought it. So you know it's old, 30 years. I still have my tape. Cassette tape. But the week after, came in and sat down and in the pulpit, and the pastor came up and he said these words. All right, bless you. I'm trying to sound like him. All right, bless you, God Almighty. We so grateful to God. We're gonna have, boy, let that Reverend Benz come up to this song. If you could have saw my inside, he asked me that, and I was like, oh, please, no. As soon as he sat down, I said, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And these words, see, you can't talk to men like this today because they think, you're insulting them or you being too hard on them. I don't know what cloth these men today are cut from. The pastor said this to me. He looked me in the eye. He said, if you're going to be a preacher, be a preacher. That was all he needed to say. That was it. In other words, the message I got was be serious. If you say you're a believer, if you say you're a preacher, then you got to do what you have to do to be that. It's not enough to just say it. That's what I got from it. It's not enough to just have lip service. It's not enough. And many people today, there will be, as the gospel say, many people are going to say, well, Lord, didn't I do this? Didn't I do that in your name? Didn't I do all these things? And he's going to say that this is another motivation for me. He's going to say to some, bounce, deuces, kick rocks, depart from me. You thought you knew me, but guess what? I ain't know you. I didn't know you. You know why I didn't know you? Because your heart was far from me. Your lips were blessing him. But the heart that nobody can see was so far away from him. And so watch this. Just because those same people who said, didn't I heal the sick? Didn't I do all these things? They showed up to synagogue. Every Shabbat. Come on and go with me here. Yeah, they showed up every Shabbat, but guess what? Their hearts was rancid, filthy, dirty. And I can imagine they talked about Jesus behind his back after he finished preaching and convicting them to a point where they were disgusted. Oh, yes. And so my 30 years, man, you know what I've learned? To keep my hand to the plow. Keep my hand right there. I'm not going to let no demon. I'm not going to let no loved one. I'm not going to let no enemy. I'm not going to let my elders. I'm not going to let anyone stop me from doing what I know what y'all's called me to do. You got to have that same dog mentality. I'm calling nobody dog in here, but the mentality that a pit bull has, you listen, you can beat a pit bull with a bat. He ain't letting go. He will lock in. He will not let go. And guess what? I'm locked in. I'm not letting go. But no one, not even my mama. So watch this. If I'm not going to do it for my mother, what do you think I'm going to do with you? You think I'm a coward and shy away? I'm going to come with it. And that's it. Guess what? That's the kind of believers that Yah will not say, depart from me. I never knew you. Hear the words. Please, thank you for standing for the word. I want you to highlight these words if you can. Consider carefully. You remember we taught on that? Can someone remember I know you took your notes. Consider carefully. Does anyone remember? This is going to be hard. The Hebrew word for consider carefully. That's a hard one. He says, consider carefully what is before you and put a knife to your throat. That simply doesn't mean to commit suicide. It just means it's not a metaphor, but it's figurative language. Thank you. It's figurative language that simply means watch what you eat. And don't just scarf down what's in front of us. He says, put a knife to your throat. If you are a man given, that means you weak with your appetite. You'll eat anything. It don't matter. If you are a man given to appetite, do not, watch this, do not desire. We're going to deal with verse 2 and verse 3, but do not desire. See, this is what my dream was about. We got our own food. Don't desire his delicacies. Don't desire what they eat. What these rulers, what these people who are in, watch this, who are in control of what's being put on the plate. Who are in control of what's in the grocery stores. He said, don't desire his delicacies. Why? Why should you desire what they eat? He says, he answered, for they are deceptive foods. All right, so today I'm going to continue. This is part 4. I'm going to talk about, have you considered your own lymphatic system? Have you considered? Do you even know what your lymphatic system is? Do you know the function of it? Let me go in real quick, because I've gone years and years and years of not knowing. Well, first of all, I don't even fully know how my car works. Come on, go with me. How many of you guys if you broke down, you could figure out what's wrong, you can diagnose it, and then figure it out and then fix it? I can't either. Give me a flat. Oh, I can fix that. Well, guess what? How many of us struggle with, dang, where is that? I don't even know what it's called. Where is that thing called? What is it called, guys? To fix the tire that you pull out and you loosen the lug nuts with? Whoa. What is it called? What is that thing called? Okay, how about this? Where is it located? Okay. Where is it in your vehicle? Okay. We all know, right? We know, look, do we have to know everything in order to, we don't have to know everything, but watch this. That's just with the car. But watch this. We have our own vehicle that we're in right now. Our bodies are vehicles of expression. Either we're going to express righteousness to Yah, or we're going to express wickedness to Yah. And so watch this. It behooves us to understand something about what makes up this temple that doesn't belong to me. How many of you guys have ever taken care of somebody else's property? You ever taken care of somebody else's kid? Well, they're not their property, but you know what I mean. It belongs to them. How many of you guys have babysat? Yeah, you have, right? How many of you guys have someone has let you drive their car? Yeah. Did you get on the street? If I was in LA, I would say Crenshaw, that's where I don't even know where they rate. Up in the north, up in Oakland, they just do just all over anywhere. Well, oh, this is a good spot. Set up some roadblocks. Donuts all in the middle of the street. Okay, so watch this. Would you do that with somebody else's car? Some people would. But what we generally want to take care of other people's stuff. Now watch this. Our bodies don't belong to us. So that whole thing about my body, my choice, you could throw that out. Because first of all, when it comes to abortion, it's not even your body that it's happening to. It's somebody else's body. Yeah, it's someone else's body. You got to consider the fact that if you say my body, my choice, then you got to give that baby the choice, or you're taking away their most fundamental right to life, so-called liberty, coming to go with me here, and the pursuit, I say, of Yah. That's what I say. Because you can't really be happy without Yah. No, you can't. Yeah. So I want to deal with, have you considered your lymphatic system? All right, he says in the text that we are to consider, some of your texts may say carefully, some of your texts may say diligently. But the word for consider diligently is tabin being. Do you guys remember that? Tabin being. Consider diligently. Now, grammar, speaking of grammar, you always got to understand the grammar when you want to study the scriptures. You have to, just like we understand grammar in English, which is very important. Same thing in Hebrew. This word is in the jussive case. And the jussive simply means that this command that Solomon was giving his listeners, the jussive says that this command is given to one person, but is concerned with others as well. That means the command was not just given to the person hearing the wisdom of Solomon, but guess what? It's also concerning us. So he says, consider diligently what is before you. When you sit with a ruler to eat, he says, consider carefully what's before you. And so this word, consider carefully or diligently, it simply means to discern. Have discernment about what you're eating. Have an understanding. Know exactly what you are eating. And then he says this. He says, don't just know it with your emotions. Have you ever noticed that we have a relationship with food that involves our emotions? Have you ever eaten something that's so good? And what happens? What's the first natural response? Your eyes closed. That's sexual in nature. Oh, yes, it is. Don't look. Look. That is sexual. You closing your eyes and you are enjoying every moment. You are cherishing every single morsel and bite. When you rock your head back and you close your eyes over some food, That's an emotional attachment. But it is sexual, absolutely it is. Because watch this, something's going into your mouth that tastes good, that feels good to your tongue. That's so much so that you close your eyes and hold your neck back. And then some of us go so far, even as to make a noise. And what do you say? Oh my God. Oh my goodness. And it's just food. See, that's the emotional attachment to it. But he says, no, I don't want you to be emotional when you're eating food. I want you to be intelligent. Listen, I want you to have, watch this, I want you to have the mentality that you're not only observing what's on your plate, but I want you to have enough discernment and insight to know exactly what you're eating. Be informed is what he's saying. You can't get around now after today. You can't just be eating stuff without knowing the ingredients. That's just simple as that. After today, you are responsible for knowing exactly what's on your plate, or guess what? You're in violation. You're in violation of the teachings of Scripture. Yeah, in violation, complete in violation. So he says, you got to be informed. You got to have intelligence. Now watch this. The byproduct, or what comes from having intelligence, is wisdom. Wisdom means I don't just understand it with my mind, but now my actions have to change. So what does that mean? What does that look like in modern day? I got to go to every single item on my shelf. What is in this? I can't even pronounce this. I don't even know what this is. Know what it is. All you got to do is look it up. Why would you? We already said we take care of other people's property, right? Why would you take less than a care with the body that Yah has given you? It belongs to him. But we don't care about that. What we care about is feeling good. What we care about, we think it's our body. I put on my clothes. I wash myself up. I got up this morning with my body. I did it. No, it belongs to him. You don't believe me? Turn to Proverbs 28. Proverbs 28. Because I want to show you what happens when we use the excuse, or if we use the excuse, well, I didn't know. I didn't know. Proverbs 28, verse 4. Proverbs 28 and 4. Evil men understand not judgment, but they that seek Yah understand all things. We have intelligence. We should have intelligence about all things. Let me say something to us today. You shouldn't join any organization. You shouldn't take a job. You shouldn't do any of that without knowing what that organization is all about. Listen, you should know the history of your job. Before I became a teacher, I studied the history. I looked at how free, and did you know that W.E. Du Bois, or however you say his name, some people say different, but W.E. Du Bois was the first person to start free public education. Education before that was private. It was only for people who had money. And by the way, let me just drop another thing on you. There weren't that many schools that people were going to during that time because it was an agrarian society. And so the only people that really went to schools and universities, come on and go with me here, were people who were going into science. They were going to become doctors, or people who were going into politics, or people who were going to be philosophers. And so there was really no need for free public education. until W.E. Du Bois came along and said, no, my people need to understand about life. We need to know how to read. Come on, go with me here. We need to know how to write. We need to have we need to not just be literate in reading and writing, but we have to be mathematically literate. Okay, so he came along and said, no, we can have an understanding. We can have insight. We can be informed about, the scripture says, about all things. If I haven't convinced you yet, go to Job chapter 6. Job chapter 6. I'm cutting across the field, guys. Cutting across the field here. Job 6, and then drop down to verse 29. Now, I want to show you a comparison. Okay, I want to show you something. I want to show you. Can someone read that for us? Okay. That 29. Wait, hold on. It's Job 6 and 29. Was that 6:29? That didn't sound like it.
Now, let there be no injustice, yet concede my righteousness still stands.
Yes. And then verse 30.
Is there injustice on my tongue? Cannot I take discern the unsavory?
Discern. So watch this. See, we heck of wise when it comes to knowing how to do evil. Oh, come on, go with me here. I remember when I was in high school, I knew how to get high without even buying drugs. You know what I would do? I would go stand by the gasoline station, the gasoline pumps, and just sniff. Inhale, exhale, deeply. You know what else I used to do? I used to go to the grocery store and I would buy, anybody still like Cool Whip? That dairy product, you still like it? I'm gonna get to it in a minute. I used to take the Cool Whip and instead of turning it, I didn't mess the quiz up. I turned it upside down to get the whipped cream out, right? But if you leave it right side up, guess what comes out? Come on. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. See, I was wise in evil. I wanted to learn more how to be evil. I was curious. I wanted to know everything that I could know about doing evil. How do you do that? Oh, you roll it up and then you put fire to it and then how do you smoke it? Do you smoke it like a cigarette? What do you do? I wanted to know. Why are we like that when it comes to righteousness? Why do we, look, watch this. When it came to unrighteousness, I didn't make excuses. Look, if I don't know how to get drunk, I'm gonna look, how do you do that? Oh, no chase? Okay, cool. Down the hatch. I wanted to learn. I wanted to know every way possible to get out the house without my mother knowing. How do I do this? Can I go out the window? Do I leave it open? What do I do? Do I put pillows in the bed? What do I do under the cover? How do you do it? Come on, y'all ain't never did unrighteousness before. What did you do? What was you curious about? Oh, when it came to women, oh my God. Well, what do you do? How do you do it? Oh, do I do this? Well, let's practice. Yeah, see, some of y'all ain't saying nothing because that's all right. That's okay. I don't preach for I learned in 30 years. Don't preach for amens. Don't preach for a response. But, let the redeemed Lord say so. Something. But watch this. When it came to women, oh my goodness. boy, my hormones around the age of, how old are you in kindergarten? Like 7, 8. Listen, I remember Miss Anderson in kindergarten, first day of school, reading time. Now you can't say sit Indian style. Now you gotta say crisscross applesauce. But we were sitting Indian style. And I remember this girl behind me, oh my goodness. When I looked at her, boy, everything in my body started ping, 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 just everything. And I remember at reading time, we were sitting across, I leaned back into her lap to hear Miss Anderson read the story of the day. And Miss Anderson said, Mr. Henry Benz, will you lift yourself up and sit upright? Oh my goodness, I was so embarrassed. But the girl let me lay there. She didn't say move. So I'm like, Miss Anderson, what you talking about? She ain't mad. I wanted to know everything it was about unrighteousness. Go to 1 Corinthians. Someone go to 1 Corinthians 14 and 20. I want to prove my case. 1 Corinthians 14 and 20. And when someone gets there, if you can read it. You see that? He says, don't be mature when it comes to unrighteousness. He says, but I want you to be mature in, but I want you to seek after, just like Job, just like Solomon is saying. I want you to have understanding. I want you to have discernment when it comes to what? Y'all with me? He said he wants you to have understanding. Paul says, in what? Yes. He said, don't be children. Don't be mature in your thinking. He said, no, you cannot. See, it's unfortunate not to know. But he said, for goodness sake, as an adult, he said, don't be children in your thinking and understanding when it comes to righteousness, but more specifically in what you're eating. No. He says, you're not a child, because Paul also said, when I was a child, I did what? I thought as a child. I understood as a child, but he says, when I became mature, what did you do with childish things? You put them away. Ladies in the house, can I speak to you just for 1 second? There are many men who are believers, they got jobs, they doing all that, but they're immature in their thinking. They had to be mature in their thinking. You know why? Because their mama did everything for them. Oh, come on, go with me here. They didn't give them an opportunity to be independent and wise in their thinking. This is why you still got problems, or you will have problems when you have an issue in your household and he goes to his mom first. Instead of coming to you, say, hey, baby, you know, we talk about this. Instead of mom, she won't act right. Can you talk to her for me? Children, in your thinking, you can't desire that in an individual. Or you got to ask yourself, well, what's wrong with me? Why am I really desiring an individual that can lead me in righteousness? Why can't I desire an individual that's mature in their thinking, especially mature if you're talking about being a husband, or sorry, being a wife, and then being a mother? How can you even teach me how to create a healthy environment for our child to live in for 9 months? Because if you can't talk to me about that, keep kicking rocks. I'm not even attracted to that. I don't care how many six packs you got in the front, on the side, in the back. I don't even care. Oh my God, sometimes I do. But that six pack, one day, that figure 8 they used to tell me could turn to a figure O. Come on, go with me. I'm having fun. It's been 30 years, man. Why not? Why not? So he says, look, he said, is there iniquity? Going back to Job 6:29, is there iniquity in my tongue? In other words, you should be able to understand and taste unrighteousness. Then he says, cannot my taste understand perverse things? So he's saying we have to have a certain level of understanding when it comes to being righteous, when it comes to our relationships, when it comes to dealing with a mature individual. But at the same time, we got to have an understanding about what's going to keep me alive, about what's going to help me to be able to prepare and have a loving trust set up. You guys know what a loving trust is? A loving trust is just like a living trust. It's out of my love that I go and fill out the paperwork and that I designate someone to be, what do they call it? The executor of the will. That's out of love. It's out of love to leave them something other than bills. Come on and go with me here. You know what that takes? That takes a clear mind. I can't look. If I'm high all the time and drinking, I ain't thinking about that. I don't even love myself. I'm gonna love you. I'm gonna love my children. If I'm killing myself. They just had Janine was just telling me about a mother. What did she do with her babies? You tell me that this mother just happened recently. Did y'all hear about that? She killed her babies. Oh, it was a while ago. Cut up. How do you do that to your own babies? Say again? Like us. Now, can I quote one of the greatest poets we have in our community? Us will always sing the blues because all we care about is hairstyles and tennis shoes. O'Shea Jackson, okay? Better known as Ice Cube, okay? I know I'm all over the place. So let's get to why haven't you, if you haven't, considered your lymphatic system before? I look at why I didn't care about that. I'm just living. I'm trying to have fun. I'm trying to enjoy every moment. I'm not trying to put restrictions on my life. I'm trying to be free to do whatever I want to do. I don't want nobody, that's one reason why people can't submit to the Torah. Because they don't want anyone having the authority over their lives besides themselves. They, watch this, by default, they install themselves as Yah himself. It's blasphemy. But it was Yah that created every human. He created the first man. And he created that first man with at least 13 different organ systems. We went over them the other week, a few weeks ago. I'm not going to go over each one. We did that the other week. But we're going to continue to focus on what Yah has designed, which is the lymphatic system. Yah did that. With the first, yes, Adam had a lymphatic system. This is why we have a lymphatic system. This is why every single person after Adam has a lymphatic system. The lymphatic system, how many of you guys remember what I know was a few weeks ago, but do you remember what I said? The main job of the lymphatic system is, the main function? I said I gave an analogy. It works like anybody remember? A sewer system. It works like a sewer system. The lymphatic system takes waste. He's the trash man. He takes waste from your body, moves it along throughout your body, and then eliminate the waste. It goes into the rectum and then the anus and then out. We all do that, right? But watch this. The lymphatic system is that, but the lymphatic system contains white blood cells. Why is it important to have white blood cells? Sister, come on, y'all. I hear y'all. They fight off infection. That's exactly why you're healthy. That's exactly why you can move around. That's exactly why you have the energy to do the things you need to do. But here, let me pose a question to you guys. What happens when our lymphatic system is clogged up? Remember, it's the sewage system. Think about a sewage. What happens if a sewage system is clogged up? All the toxins can't get out. Listen, all the waste is stuck up in us. That's why sometimes we can clear the whole neighborhood just by going to the bathroom. Come on and go with me here. Your body is not supposed to smell like that. You've been tricked into believing that it's the norm for your poop to stink. You know why it stinks? Because you got all kind of dead carcasses and all kind of waste material that's just like a cemetery sitting in our bodies. And then once we either poop or fart, pass gas. I had to say it like I feel it. Because some of us, it goes beyond passing gas. When you can play like keynotes with your, sounds like music. That's why it stinks. Because what you have done is that you have clogged up your lymphatic system and is no longer working the way Yah has designed it. But there's another thing. Are you guys writing this down? Or you know this? You should be, listen, if you don't know about this stuff, I can only encourage you. But I mean, if you do, look, I just know, anyway, I'll move on, I'm just gonna keep going. This lymphatic fluid that moves throughout our bodies. Listen, it goes throughout every single part of your body. What is it doing? The third thing that it's doing, we already said it, but I'm going to let you know in detail. It contains white blood cells, which washes and picks up toxins, cellular waste. Do you know that your cells take a poop too? Because your cells, they digest nutrients. And guess what else they do with them? Because they don't have legs to walk, they can't go to the bathroom, they just poop it out. And then watch this. The trash man, the lymphatic fluid, comes along, picks it up, and gets ready to eliminate it. Things like toxins, cellular waste, fat, damaged cells. Incidentally, damaged cells eventually grow into cancer cells. And now I'm going to get to, this is going to be deep, because many people who have cancer, it's not a hereditary thing. You can change, and if it is hereditary, you can change it. You can reverse the fact that cancer is hereditary. I don't believe it's hereditary, but maybe in some cases it probably is. Only because it's hereditary. I think it's hereditary in this sense. The same behavior that caused cancer in Big Mama, she passed down that behavior to us. The behavior of just digesting and putting anything in our mouths. Things that we know is going to kill us. Or should know. I love Big Mama, but I love y'all more. Yeshua said, who are those? He said, who are those that are your family? Those that do the will of Yah. Germs. But the fourth thing it does is it helps in the metabolic process. And the metabolic process simply means this. Metabolism is the process of how our bodies, once we eat food, metabolism converts the food and the drinks into adenosine triphosphate. In other words, energy. You know why many people are tired and dragging? Because their lymphatic system is backed up. Why? Because it cannot feed your cells the ATP or the adenosine triphosphate that it needs to continue. Have you ever woke up? Now, some people may have, what's it called when you have to wear the, when you stop breathing at night? Sleep apnea. Some people have sleep apnea and that causes you to drag. Sleep apnea is, you guys know what it is. It's when you stop breathing while you're sleeping. So then therefore, your organs don't get the oxygen it needs. So you wake up tired to regenerate themselves. That's some of the case. But most of the time, it is because of what we eat. Our lymphatic system's clogged up and it cannot give us the energy we need. The main role of the lymphatic system, again, like I said, is to eliminate from the body waste that is accumulating every single day. Now, how is that important to what we're doing right now? There's ministry that needs to be done. Yah wants you actively involved in ministry. He wants you putting your efforts forth in ministry, helping people enter into the kingdom. But if we don't have any energy, go out and share the gospel. And watch this, before we even do that, if we don't even have the energy to study the word, the mental energy or desire to study his word, to know what his word says, so that in case I don't have a Bible, I can recall mentally from my heart the words of Yah, and I can minister to that person who's about to commit suicide. I can minister to that girl who's about to do something she has no business doing. I can minister to that young man who's about to go out and kill someone. Why? Because I have energy to do that. How can we go ye therefore when my get up and go has gotten up and went? When all I feel like doing is sitting in front of the TV and be brainwashed by the television. Come on and go in here. Yeah. Or brainwashed by the tele-YouTube, whatever it is. So can someone tell me what clogs up our lymphatic system? What clogs it up? If it's important for me to eliminate waste, then I need to know what's clogging it up. Can someone tell me what clogs it up? All the stuff we like. All of it. I'm gonna get into it. So there are certain functions in your body and mind. Now remember, we're talking about, have you considered the lymphatic system? He says, consider what's on your plate. So we have to consider diligently what's going into our body that's affecting this main organ, this main system in our bodies. And so the most common reason that our lymphatic system is backed up is because we've had lymph nodes removed. One of the first things the doctors want to do if you have breast cancer, they want to cut it off. And guess what they're also cutting off? The lymph nodes. So I can get into the lymph nodes. But those are super important because the lymph nodes are like sacs that have enzymes inside of them, that when waste is carried through them, it's like a filter. It filters all of those toxins so that you can remove them from your body. So that's one of the main causes that a lymphatic system gets backed up, is because there's no place to filter all the toxins. Or if the lymph nodes, if they're inflamed. That's the word, the flame, right? Acid. One of the reasons that we got to consider what's on the plate is because the consumption of foods with acids high in acidity will indeed clog your system up. Then you don't, watch this, you don't even have energy to pray. You don't even want to pray. You know what you want to do? Sleep. You can't even diligently study the word for hours a week. Why? Because your body is too tired. Second reason, mosquitoes. How many of you guys have an issue with mosquitoes? They always bite you. I never get bitten. I never have bumps and bruises from mosquito bites. While everybody else is getting bit, I have none. I'm going to explain that in just a bit. Because there are certain foods you can eat that when mosquitoes, I don't know if they can smell it but there are certain foods that are like a repellent. You don't have to spray anything on your body. There are natural, you don't have to believe me, look it up. There are certain foods you can eat that mosquitoes will not bite you. But this is what they do. When a mosquito bites you, you know what they're doing to you? They are inserting a microscopic worm that passes through your skin and it travels, watch this, to all of your lymphatic vessels. That's what happens. They're passing on you. And there are many of us who have so many worms in our bodies that can cause all kinds of diseases and conditions. Let's say it like that. Do you know you can get herpes? Watch this. Not even engaging in sexual activity. Did you know that? There are worms, I think it's called the fluke worm. That will see if you can get herpes through sexual encounter. How did the first person get herpes? You ever thought about that? But herpes is a skin disease that you can easily pass on. They have all different levels of herpes. It comes from worms. It comes from these worms that enter into the body. And all of this happens because we're not considering what we're eating. If you eat the right things, I'm going to stay on this. If you eat the right things, there are certain conditions and diseases that won't even touch you. We already know the third thing is foods. Well, what kind of foods, Pastor Dan? Okay, I'm glad you asked. Foods that are high in sodium. And I don't mean sea salt. I'm talking about the table salt. It's sodium. It's the table salt, not sea salt, but it's the table salt that this sodium is being referred to. Foods with high in sodium. Do you know any food that is high in sodium? So, okay, I didn't even know that. We love soda. I used to love grape. That was my favorite, man. A large grape, supersized grape. What else? What other foods?
It's those, those noodles in the store. You store with the noodles that you put the seasoning and water.
Oh my goodness. You want your system? See, this is why people have bowel movement problems. Because, listen, think about what happens. What does salt do to anything? Okay, that's blood pressure. You know, when I was a kid, I used to like killing stuff. I used to like getting a magnifying glass and then let the sun hit it and just kill a line of ants. I used to like doing. I used to watch like. Then you know what I would do? I would put salt inside of a snail. Anybody else do that? You can do that. So what does salt do to that snail? It dried it up, right? So guess what happens to your lymphatic system that has all kinds of, your lymphatic system is made of a mucus-like thick mucus to pick up all the toxins and waste. So when you have too much salt in your diet, your lymphatic system dries up. So it cannot flow like it should. Dries you right up. Processed foods, red meat. Yeah. Caffeine. You like your coffee too, right? You like your tea. Caffeine in it. Come on, go with me here. Soda, all of that stuff. Liquor. I gotta have me a drink every now and then. Listen, I don't want nothing in this body that's not righteous. Because guess what? It's not mine. It belongs to me. Excessive table salt, already said that. Watch this. Low plant proteins. Yeah. Artificial sweeteners. We already said dairy. But guess what? Soy also. Yeah. Here's a big one right here. In 1970, the Food and Drug Administration approved high fructose corn syrup, which is in everything. They've tweaked it to make it addictive. This is why you got the munchies all the time and you ain't even hit the weed. You ain't smoking no weed, but you got the munchies all day. You can't stop putting stuff. You know why? Because it's addictive. And I've been praying for you. Listen, I know this fast could be difficult for some of you, but I do remember when we was in Christianity and the preacher told us don't eat nothing but water. And guess what? We did it. We did it. And that's why I'm praying. I'm praying because I know that it's not easy. But guess what? How many people, if you've been faithful, have you noticed a difference in your body? You should notice a difference in like the first, I would say, 3-4 days. If you've been committed for those first 3 or 4 days, you actually see a difference in your body, how your body responds. All right, so, but here's another thing that can back up the lymphatic system. This is the fourth thing. So the first one was what? What was the first thing that backs it up? When they removed the lymph nodes. What was the second thing? They bite down on you. You guys writing this down? Yep. And the third thing was certain foods. Fourth thing is conventionally raised in California. Conventional. What do you mean conventional, Pastor? Which animals are conventionally raised? Turkeys. Dang, there go Thanksgiving. Unless you don't care about your lymphatic system. And you can give a, look, I don't care. I'm eating this anyway. I don't want to disappoint my mama. Well, she made it, and you got to go and eat. Okay. Chickens. There goes Wingstop. Boy, I used to love me some Wingstop. Oh, my goodness. Oh, I didn't care how much it cost. Give me the family piece, the family style. Because I want all the flavors. I want all of that. But see, once you know and you understand, I'm good with that. Pigs, well, we don't have to worry about pigs because we let that go a while back. Some of us have never eaten pig. Now, the reason why these conventional animals can clog up your system is because look how they're raised. They've been taken out of their natural environment, and we put them in, well, not we, but they've put them in cages under appalling conditions. Like, has anyone ever eaten sardines? Do you know how them sardines are packed in that aluminum can? They just stacked and packed on them. Exactly what conventionally raised animals are experiencing. They're packed in cages like sardines. They're packed in pens, incapable of practicing their natural, watch this, behaviors that affect what kind of chicken that you're eating. It affects because they're not eating, they're not consuming, they're not grazing in their natural habitat. How many of you guys would rather have farm-raised fish or wild caught? Why would you like wild caught? Natural habitat. Now, even the natural habitat is jacked up. Come on, go with me here. All kind of metals and mercury. So even though Yah says we can eat fish, then it's okay, I'm not eating it because I don't like eating mercury. I don't like putting metals in my body. So you go ahead and keep your little, I used to love catfish nuggets. Plant, but when you take these animals out of their natural habitat, even the plants are diminished because they're not getting fertilized properly. Oh, by the way, in 2016, you can read this too, just study, check it out. In 2016, you know, they just stopped putting arsenic in the feed of chickens. Arsenic. Look it up if you don't believe. And you still want that chicken, right? I was eating heck of chicken during that time. Do you know what arsenic does inside of you? First of all, say it again. Arsenic? No. It's in rice. It's in white rice. Look, let me tell you something. If you've ever gone to the grocery store and you went on aisle number 7 and they had poison A, poison B, poison C, how many of you say, you know what? Poison C is cheaper than poison D. I'm going to get poison C. You wouldn't do it, right? But it has to have poison on it and a skull with crossbones for us to stay away from it. No wonder why. Oh, I'm going to get into this. Oh, I might as well say it now. Yeshua said this. And you can read the context. But Yeshua said, do you not perceive that whatsoever thing from out without that enters a man, it cannot defile him? Because it entereth not into his heart. Watch this. But it entered into his belly. Was Yeshua a physician? Absolutely, he was a physician. He understood everything about the human body, how it worked. He understood the lymphatic system and how it worked. This is the proof. Watch this. He says, but it enters into the belly. And then he uses a beautiful word. He said, it goes out into the drought. Do you know what he's saying there? Do you know what that means? He says, you sit down, whatever enters into your mouth, it goes into your belly. It goes through the duodenum, where the nutrients is extracted. Then it goes to the small intestine, where the leftover nutrients that the duodenum didn't get, it's extracted. Then it goes to the large intestines that still extracts the nutrients that wasn't collected. And then, like Yeshua said, it goes through those 5 stages of eating. What's the first one? Consumption. You got to consume. You can't digest something you ain't consume. Consumption, digestion. What's the next one? Absorption. We absorb the nutrients. What's the fourth one? Utilization. Now, since I've absorbed these nutrients, now I can utilize or use them. Then what's the final step? We just read it. It goes out into the drought. You know what he's saying there? We sit down and we poop it out. That's what he's saying. He's saying that that's what happens when something comes into the mouth and doesn't go to the heart, but it goes to the stomach. And then watch this. He's dealing with the lymphatic. He says, purging all, your Bible may say meats, right? The word is brahma in the Greek. It means foods. It doesn't say meats, it means foods. And that's exactly what we've been talking about. That the lymphatic system, it purges, it cleanses every single thing that you put into your body, except for those things that clog it up. Question. Oh, sorry. Matthew 7, 14 through 23. Now, Pastor Ben, what's all this? All this health stuff you've been barking at us about? How are you barking at us? Because I love you. I don't want to come out to visit you in the hospital